Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are, whatever you are. Welcome to the Oblivion Report. Sadly, this week's episode will not be brought to you streamed. This is going to be a live recording, which I know is a no nonsense. However, my phone decided that it was going to explode. I'm now down to this little thingy, and that means that I have no internet connection. Although, thanks to the wonderful Rob Braxman over on Odyssey.com, he's one of their top content creators over there. I have one of these on his recommendation, mobile router, which I will be getting up and running very soon. Until then, however, these will be pre-recorded. Let's move on, shall we? Before we begin, I'd like to give one more person a shout out, the wonderful, wonderful Jay Dyer, jaysanalysis.com, for his wonderful proof that you don't have to do anything of any quality to be successful. Thank you, Jay. You are a wonderful, wonderful content creator, and I love you. Let's get on with the headline for today. Out of the Guardian. Chickens kept in gardens will have to be registered under new plan rules. This involves England, Wales, and Scotland. It will apply to pigeons and birds of prey in a bid to tackle bird flu. Now, I wish I could find this. It's somewhere in the ether on Getter, but a quick search, I couldn't find it. H1N1, which is the current strain of bird flu that is supposedly attacking the wild bird population, is supposed to be putting all kinds of livestock birds at risk. This is bullshit. It doesn't take a lot to keep birds away. I mean, most industrial agriculture, birds are kept indoors anyway. That's hardly an issue. But H5N1 is an artificial virus. It's one of many of the current strain of evil that is out there that was created in a lab. You can find it. It's got a patent number, a US patent number, along with Ebola, Zika, and of course everyone's favourite COVID. Well, yes. So essentially, the British government wants everyone who keeps birds to register with the government under this proposed to supposedly crack down on bird flu. Anyone who owns 50 birds or more, but this will ultimately reduce. Currently, people who have birds for their own supply of eggs or as pets do not, but it's not going to take long. It's that inching factor. Yeah. Every time they take something, they then move it further down the list, move it further down the list, and that's what's going to happen with this as well. And that really, as someone who keeps birds for, here's the fan factor, and as well as just, to be self-sufficient. This really does my nut in, because I keep chickens, I keep quail, I keep a variety of animals. I've only got a tiny patch of land, but we are able to do this, and this is just yet more examples of Big Brother, putting a stranglehold on the rest of Airstrip 1. Whilst we're bashing the UK government, this story from the Epoch Times. UK Information Unit monitored headmaster who questioned the COVID stabbies for children. Well, as far as I'm concerned, this guy's a fucking hero then. Anyone that says the stabbies are a bad thing has got to be good. Let's take a closer look at this. Headmaster who questioned the effects of lockdown and masking on children, as well as the MMRA stabby rollout, was reported to the UK government terror watch list and has had his social media posts monitored by government disinformation units. In January, Westminster confirmed that it had monitored lockdown critics, including Conservative MPs and journalists, on social media platforms via its disinformation units after documents were obtained by the civil liberties group Big Brother Watch. Big shout out to Silky Carlo. I love your work. I'm a big supporter. I love you so much. You do a great job. Keep it up. Headmaster Mike Fairclough, who has 20 years experience in running a state-funded West Rise Junior School for 7 to 11 years olds, which is based in Eastbourne, told the Epoch Times he had also been monitored. I mean, he's not wrong when he goes on to say that my personal belief is that the risks from these stabbies outweigh any possible benefits to a child. Yes, you're right, Mike. You are absolutely spot on the money. Children were the least likely to be affected by the coof, by the snivels, which has always been the case. You know, and the data that's coming out constantly at the moment just prove what we said right from the beginning, that the stabbies were actually designed to take away children, to kill children off. They're trying to destroy us. This is a good article. It's worth reading in full. But, yeah, all of the usual suspects are here. The Counter Disinformation Unit, which is a part of the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sports, which I think is one of the most pointless government agencies there is, along with Prevent, which of course is an NGO, which basically means, you know, fascists. Because remember, public-private partnership, which is basically government working alongside private entities, comes together to form fascism. Remember that. Whenever you see public-private partnership or NGO, you're talking about fascism. And this article goes on, is that we're talking about a case of galloping authoritarianism, which is absolutely right. The Free Speech Union told the Epoch Times by email that Fairclough had approached them to discuss legal options. Fair play, mate. I'm certainly with you on that one. And for those of you who don't know, the Epoch Times is a brilliant resource, although a lot of their stuff that, you know, is behind a paywall, which I'm not a huge fan of. Just call me a butthurt leftist. This one from Zero Hedge, which we're going to go into a bit more detail in a bit, with a very good report from Lord Voldemort's side. That the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank portends real dangers, and this is something that anyone who knows anything, if you are watching this right now, pause the video after this statement, get up off your ass, go down to the nearest cash machine, and withdraw as much money as you possibly can. If you're near an arcade or somewhere where you can change your notes into coin, preferably pound coins and silver, do it. Do it now. Pause this video, go do that, then come back. Right, we shall continue. Thus far, in the 3-year fiasco of mismanagement and corruption, we've avoided a financial crisis. Just. The failure of Silicon Valley Bank, I still can't get my head around this, $212 billion in assets, until only recently, is a huge mess and possible foreshadowing. Its fixed-rate bond holding declined rapidly in market value due to changed market conditions. Its portfolio crashed further due to a depositor run, and it all happened in less than a few days. And it's all an extension of the Federal Reserve's policy to curb inflation, reversing a 13-year zero-rate policy. And I think this is quite right. House of Cards comes to mind, but perhaps a better metaphor is a game of billiards in which every move introduces a cascade of new issues. Lockdowns prompted intense government spending, which produced debt which was quickly monetized and eventually caused inflation, prompting the Federal Reserve to reverse course with the largest, fastest rate increases in history. We know this is something that is coming, and it's something that I will talk about in a little bit, but I keep mentioning it. This book talks about the dangers of these overcomplicated, unnecessary systems which cause absolute chaos. Right, now, let's tie this all together, shall we? I'm going to tie this all together with a cut-down which was shown yesterday, the 11th of March, on Lord Voldemort's emergency Saturday broadcast. I'm just going to run this, let you enjoy it, or rather, not so much enjoy it, but let the information sink in, and then we'll come back and we will discuss further.
The investigation into Twitter has revealed that moderators were instructed to censor true posts, which could fuel hesitancy. Former CDC head Robert Redfield has just testified that the NIH was conducting gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab in China. Politically, the tide is turning, and people all over the world are now rejecting the New World Order. The Central Bank of Nigeria launched their CBDC a little over a year ago, but the people rejected it. So early this year, the Nigerian banks emptied the ATM machines and closed their doors. This resulted in angry protests. The people attacked ATMs and blocked roads in multiple cities. The Bank of Lebanon has crashed. The Lebanese pound has fallen to an all-time low of 80,000 against the US dollar. The people have taken to the streets. Banks have been set on fire. The rise in Fed rates has officially killed America's biggest lender, Silicon Valley Bank. The FDIC shutters Silicon Valley Bank. $152 billion of uninsured deposits are destroyed. The rise in Fed rates also killed Silvergate Capital. Several regional bank stocks have plummeted as a result of the Silicon Valley Bank and the Federal Reserve's rate hikes. The housing market is collapsing as well. The majority of commercial real estate loans are lent by small banks. Massive short bets are now happening in the commercial real estate market. The Federal Reserve Bank is taking down the housing market along with all regional banks, leaving only its vassals who will be distributing CBDCs as a solution. The financial experts are now recommending that people have food, gold and silver, and cash in their possession. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese. After publishing my video report on bank bail-ins, a contractor for the European Central Bank, who asked that his name be withheld for security reasons, contacted me with the following information. Shortly after the FDIC meeting that went viral, my source was assigned an urgent project related to bail-in capability for the European Central Bank, or ECB. Bail-ins is when the bank steals money directly from people's accounts, just like we saw in Cyprus in 2013. The project goal is to build a data infrastructure for the financial market infrastructures, which are the networks that allow financial transactions to take place, to report to the ECB about the capability of banks and capital markets to absorb losses and to execute bail-ins as quickly and efficiently as possible. This urgent project makes it clear that the ECB is expecting a system collapse and that they know it is uncontrollable and unforeseeable. The current security requirements do not legally compel the banks to provide information to the ECB. If a bank is insolvent, they have no incentive to tell the ECB, and so the ECB is not targeting banks directly, but rather financial intermediaries like SWIFT and large settlement houses. The purpose of this contractor's job is to provide a way for the ECB to pinpoint which banks are insolvent and where the collapse will stem from. This is being done by creating large data lakes, which an engineer can analyze and find meaning at a graphical level. How much bail-ins each bank has to execute, and how much of a loss they can take. This is evidence that the ECB is definitely planning on bail-ins as a means of surviving an imminent collapse. And when this occurs, we can expect multiple banks to close and stock markets around the world to shut down, as the banks steal as much money from the people as they deem necessary. Most of this work is being done in private, but there are pieces of information available to the public on the EU's SRB website, including operational guidance on bail-in implementation and the operational guidance on bail-in playbooks. The ECB contractor has also pointed out that the latest directives for the European Union's digital service providers states that governments shall appoint trusted bodies for internet domain registry, meaning that the government will have the sole authority on who is able to have a website, and that these new security directives allow a gaping hole for a major cyber attack, which official commentators are ignoring. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese. Canadian veteran and political activist Jeremy Mackenzie, known as the Raging Dissident, was just notified that he can no longer do banking in Canada.
As part of ending the relationship as of today, you're not to visit any of the Scotiabank branches or bank premises in person without first getting written consent in advance from the bank, from management. So
I'm banned from the bank.
But it doesn't matter if you are a political activist or an obedient sheep, because the banks are planning on taking all of your money to pay off their debts.
I mean, it's a little bit conflicted, right? I mean, it's important that people understand they can be bailed in, but you don't want a huge run on the institution. But they're going to be. That's
the FDIC currently has less than $200 billion in assets to insure over $9 trillion. That's just 1.3%. They know that a system collapse is coming, and they are already planning for bail-ins. As trust begins to fail, the people will begin to withdraw their funds, which will only guarantee a banking collapse. This is known as a bank run. In 2012, the International Monetary Fund, known for their reputation of coercion, violence, and extortion, published staff discussion notes entitled From Bailout to Bail-In: Mandatory Debt Restructuring of Systemic Financial Institutions. After the 2008 crisis, the world learned what a bailout is. Trillions of taxpayer dollars printed out of thin air to pay off the bankers' bad habits. It was hugely unpopular, but pales in comparison to a bail-in. So what exactly is a bail-in? It is officially obfuscated with elaborate equations, but to put it simply, it is when the bank steals your money directly from your account. They called it haircuts when they did it in Cyprus back in 2013, which the courts later ruled was legit. And a recent video on TikTok shows that the new bail-ins may have already begun.
So I'm a Bank of America and everybody's missing money. I'm also missing money over $1,300, and they're telling me to call customer service. And they keep hanging up on people. This another person here is also missing money. So we're trying to see what's going on. Money's missing today, and we need our money. And they're already telling us to call customer service, and customer service ain't doing nothing about it. So just a heads up, if anybody's experiencing this, please let us know, because this is not right. I'm missing $1,400 from my account, and they're telling me that there's no way they can help us. This guy's missing money too. This other person is missing money too. And you missing money too? There you go. So this is not something that's just one person. This is everybody's happening to them. And this is crazy. This is very crazy. Yes, Bank of America decided to take people's money without their consent. And we're asking what's going on, and they're giving us a runaround. Everybody for the same thing, man. Same thing.
Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
If you want to continue to see hard...
So, yeah, if you didn't heed my warning earlier, I'm hoping that this will have given you enough of an idea to run out right now, get some cash. Because it's not just going to be America, it's not just going to be, a small isolated thing, it's not just going to be Europe, it's not just going to be wherever, it's happening everywhere, it's part of a systematic systems collapse, which is where we're going to be bringing in this book again. In particular, section from chapter 14, the beginning and duration of the Dark Age. Now, I've always been extremely, shall we say, skeptical of any kind of large system. And this may seem a trite illustration to point, and yet it is not. we meet analogous situations in other fields. A Polish or Italian manager who decides to computerize an administrative system does not really believe in his heart that the new system will work. He therefore preserves in parallel, so to speak, the former antiquated system which worked by hand, with the result that as soon as the new electronic system is in trouble, he falls back easily on the old one, thereby ensuring unbroken continuance of service. The American manager, and increasingly the British, who tends to have greater confidence, it is sometimes limitless, in the new and indubitably advanced systems that he intends to use, is often left without reserve, and many find himself in very grave emergency without any system at all. Mistrust of technology is an attitude that ought to be taken seriously. It has positive value in avoiding grave disasters. This is where I have always felt. That's why I have no problem with returning to one of these based on rather than an all-singing, all-dancing computer in my pocket. Which, let's face it, they should stop calling them smartphones. They're pocket PCs. They're pocket computers, whatever you want to call it. It's Star Trek technology. But the problem is that this is not just a case of things going wrong. It's all part of a systematic design. As we talked about last time, Agenda 2030 is designed to wipe us out. The whole environmental movement, it's always carbon reduction, carbon reduction. The carbon they want to reduce is you. Remember that, because that is exactly what is going to happen. Now, going back slightly to what we were talking about earlier, with the chickens, something that else has come to mind is there's been a lot of discussion about the bugs. You will eat the bugs. If the German can go fuck himself. Let me introduce you to a couple of old school examples. And for those of you who don't know, it has been for a very, very, very long time now, take it from a food scientist and chef, as well as historian. Bugs have been used for all sorts, in all kinds of foods. Here is one example for you, and I'll just make myself a little bit smaller to make it more easy for you. Food additive E120, carmine cochineal extract, is a red food color isolated from an insect which lives on different species of succulents. E120I is a pure color, whereas E120II is the crude extract. It is a red food color and is very soluble in water. I've used it many times when coloring icing to make cakes. And of course, as it quite clearly states, as an extract from insects, it cannot be consumed by vegans, vegetarians, and certain religious groups. Whilst no side effects in concentrated use in foods, increased hyperactivity has been reported, and contact allergy is well known when used in cosmetics. Let's look at the next one that I immediately found, which is E904, shark, a natural polymer derived from certain species of lice from India. It is a coating used for confectionery and fruits. No known side effects, but once again, really, it shouldn't be used by vegans because it's a raw product. It's a raw creature product. Now, we know that there's this huge move to eat the bugs, and edible insects have been around for ages. Now, you can expect this from the Chinese. This isn't a particularly long article, so I'll read it for you. Insects have played an important part in the history of human nutrition in Africa, Australia, Asia, and the Americas. Hundreds of species have been used as human food. Some of the more important groups include grasshoppers, caterpillars, beetle grubs, and sometimes adults, winged termites, some of which are very large in the tropics, bees, wasps, and ant brood, that's the larvae and pupae, as well as winged ants, cicadas, and a variety of aquatic insects. Ordinarily, insects are not used as an emergency food to ward off starvation, but are included as a normal part of the diet throughout the year when seasonally available. In Europe, the use of insects as food has always been very limited, yes, because we actually have something to eat. Although frequently mentioned in ancient Greek and Roman literature, there are only a few reports of insects as food in later centuries. Only in times of starvation, insects were eaten. The main reason for the difference between Europe and other continents is that insects are not so abundant and generally are much smaller than tropical regions. That, and we're not complete idiots. That's it. That's the thing. We've always had a much better diet, as a general rule. Recently, the use of insects as food has declined in many tropical regions, partly to increase availability of better foods. This often includes meat and more Western-style dishes, as insects are a very good source of nutrients. The question remains whether or not they are actually better food. You can see, even this website, which dates back as far as 1999, they're trying to sell you on the concept. And, I don't care what you say. Insects as food is it's a no-no, because they are all invertebrates. Their skeletons are on the outside. Their shells are the only firm bit of them, which hold all the liquid goop on the inside. Chitin is actually toxic, very toxic, and in some cases is actually carcinogenic. But I wanted to bring this to your attention. Let's see if we could find it. These are some of the examples of things that have been used as edible insects in various parts of the world. And just to put yet another nail in the coffin for the Japanese are nothing but frigging weird. The idea that canned wasps, wings and all, are sold in Japan, and rice cooked with these wasps was a favorite dish of the late Emperor Hirohito. Yeah, well, we're talking about the land of weird food and tentacle porn, so we're going to leave it at that. But, I mean, look at this. How can these possibly be considered edible? I apologize if you're eating whilst watching this, but this totally grossed me out. Scorpion soup. These things are when the original wet market theory for food came out, I was half willing to believe it because of shit like this. Because the Orientals can eat some stuff which it would not be considered food anywhere else in the world. I don't know about you, but I think we're rapidly heading toward the Dark Age. I really do. We are in a position where systems are beginning to collapse really badly, and we're seeing it day in, day out, and this is how it's going to be. They want us in a position where we are so desperate we will take whatever is given to us. The collapse in the banking system is meant to, as those reports said, to force us into a central bank digital currency. They'll say, oh, sorry, the bank has collapsed, but if you download this app onto your smartphone, your pocket PC, then we will give you so much of your initial investments, your portfolio, your original bank accounts, as these new digital currencies. But they will then control exactly where you can spend it, what you can do with it. You'll be told you have to shop at these stores of these products. It's a way of control. And as I pointed out in my very first report of this new series, that clip from 1984, it's not just the use of language, the destruction of language to force compliance. We are also got behavioral compliance. We are being forced into a digital gulag, and very soon it'll be a very real gulag, with the introduction of the 15-minute cities coming in. I think I've ranted enough for today. I thank you very much for putting up with this. You can follow me over at Getter. At the moment, I'm not particularly active because of various technical issues. And if you want to find me, I can be found over on... Let's call this bloody thing out. I should have had this before, but you can find over on Odyssey. My channel has all of the esoteric podcasts, as well as every single Oblivion Report, most of which have been censored off of YouTube. I will attempt another live stream sometime soon. But for now, I would like to say thank you for watching. Do go and support me on locals.com at Oblivion Media. You can also find me over on Rumble, where all of these reports will be put up as and when they come about. And until next time, I thank you for watching, and wherever, whenever, whatever you are, my laddies, ladies, lassos, beardos, and weirdos, thank you for watching.